You're just in time. Welcome to the drawing board, I guess. So, on one screen, I have my Skyblock world. This is the mod. These are my notes for the machines. So, if you're wondering exactly how the machines in this mod will work, they have rules that every machine is going to follow. So, there is consistency. My goal is for you to only need to look at the crafting recipe and just the game will tell you everything else because you already know how machines work, you know how the rules are. So the rules are they always interact with the blocks below them. They move on the X and Z axis only with observers next to them. They can be ascended using mysterious runes. You right click on the bottom block of them with a mysterious rune. And they lose their ascension when they're destroyed. And when a machine is ascended, every machine can be ascended. They kind of upgrade or change their ability. So, for instance, a sand sifter becomes just a sifter and it can sift anything that is siftable. So, gravel, dirt, coarse dirt, all that. My goal is to have every machine have multiple functions and purposes. So, nothing is redundant, and there are no two machines that could be easier combined into just one machine. These are items that you can't renew in vanilla, so you have things like soul sand, fletching table, cocoa beans, mycelium. A lot of these I solved with loot bags, but I also plan on solving in other ways. I don't want loot bags to be like the primary way you get certain things. I do plan on making everything renewable without the use or necessity of loot bags. I want loot bags to be helpful but not essential to the game, you know? I want to add some new ores question mark, some new materials. I think that would be fun. There are three tiers of machines. There's tier 1, which I'm going to show you in the next episode of the shorts series. And tier 1 are the machines that you craft out of wood. Then there's tier 2 machines that they kind of hint at the magic system that you're about to get into. So they have some magical properties, but it's mostly just they just like do work for you. And the tier 1 machines and their ascended forms can be powered with either redstone or with the magic system. The tier 2 machines, only their regular form can be powered with redstone, and they have to be powered with the magic system to use their ascended form. The tier 3 machines, which I haven't decided what to build them out of yet, those will be powered using only the magic system, which I have planned out to a degree. I still need to figure out like a main fuel source. Well, I have a main fuel source figured out. I just need to figure out how to make it work. It's so difficult. I need to add loot bags to more of the nether mobs, and I possibly want to add a 9th loot bag for nether loot, but that comes maybe later. And I also want to finish off adding all the tree seeds. Okay, here's the some of the meat and bones. Now I'm really going to talk about like the theory and the game design and where I'm putting thought in and why I'm spending so long on such a small feature set, because there's a lot of thought that I'm putting into it. With magic, there is already a magic system in Minecraft. It's kind of hinted at, but it's not really like fully built on because it's all quasi lore. You know, it's like what that I'll put his name on screen because he's gosh genius. There are blocks with inherent magical properties, such as gold has healing and life properties. You see this in enchanted golden apples. Totems of undying are made out of gold. Golden carrots, glistering melons make health potions. Glowstone has a link to potency and power because it's used to upgrade potions, make them stronger, and it also has a direct link to the power of a respawn anchor. Obsidian has a link to portals and dimensions as they're used in the respawn anchor, and they're used to make a nether portal. Blaze powder is linked to heat and energy. It's used for brewing, and it's used for the Eye of Ender, and it comes from a blaze. It's very hot. Books and shelves are very obviously of just knowledge and enchanting. And Prismarine is one I want to expand upon because there's not really anything in the game that talks about it, but Prismarine has an aspect of loyalty to it. I really want to explore that in this data pack or this mod because it's going to be kind of a pain, honestly, to get Prismarine. I want you to be able to do a bunch of cool stuff with it with regards to loyalty and water. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy and maybe I'll disregard that later on. There's also what I said earlier about every machine being a complete system in and of itself. That's the reason I implemented the ascended machine system. The reason I did that is because every time I add a new machine, I not only have to think of a main purpose for that machine, I have to also think about what the ascended version of that machine does. So if I add a machine, I have to add a bunch of functionality to it. Speaking of, this guy on my screen, the alchemy reactor, I need to rename it because the name is a little wordy, but when I added it, I had a hard time deciding what the ascended version of it should do. Originally, I just made it a faster cooldown, and I made the more rare transformations, I gave them a boost to be more common. But then I had an idea that spawned from the Tempest's box, if anyone remembers that old mod. The Tempest box had these two blocks. It had the alchemy reactor and it had the block transformer. How the alchemy reactor worked was you placed a ring of 8 ores around it, and then you placed the reactor in the middle, and it would activate, and it would turn most of the ores into stone or back into the original ore, but sometimes it would turn it into a full block. And these blocks were rare enough that it was really a gamble using the reactor. Sometimes you'd get a payout, sometimes you wouldn't. It also had a block called the block transformer that had a set list of blocks that it interacted with, and it transformed those single blocks into a single other block. And it was a one-use machine. And I thought I could combine those, and so I did. And so I decided to make the alchemy guy, this guy, do both of those things. But of course, because it's, in this, it only interacts with the block beneath it, because that's one of the rules. And so that one machine did what two machines from another mod were doing.
So glowstone is a primary power source, right? Well, I wanted to perhaps, maybe, just a little bit, use glowstone to power these, because it makes sense, right? And I wanted to make it where you had to right click on this with the glowstone. But I couldn't get it to work for a few reasons, and I'm about to lift the veil. You can probably guess it if you use commands, but these machines, they use item frames. These are item frames that you can place down, and they have a custom model, and they have an item with that same custom model inside. The top half is just a command block that runs a command, and the bottom half is a monster spawner. Now, the reason it's a mob spawner, and the reason it is that way, the main thing is they're transparent. When you place an item frame inside, it doesn't block off the light. It lets light through it, and it has a full hitbox. Those are very important criteria. There are very few blocks in the game that actually fit the criteria of being used as a base for a custom block that is worth anything. The main contender is a mob spawner. It needs to be broken with a pickaxe. It lets light through it. It can't really interact with anything. It can be powered with redstone, and it's a full block. A strong second contender is mangrove roots. They can't be redstone powered, they're a full block, and they're transparent, they have a hitbox. The problem arises because they have a survival interaction. They can be waterlogged, and that is bad news bears for us. Another option is glass, but that can be broken with any tool. It doesn't drop an item unless it's silk touched, so you have to summon an item unless it's been silk touched, or you just kill the item it drops. There are also leaves, but those can be updated to check decay, so your machines would just randomly disappear under random circumstances. And they sometimes drop saplings, they sometimes drop sticks, they sometimes drop apples if they're oak. It's a design nightmare. Mob spawners are the way to go, but I wanted to use glowstone, and I wanted you to be able to right-click on the machine. Well, what can you right-click on with glowstone? Immediately, your mind thinks, respawn anchor. That's great. You can right-click on a respawn anchor with glowstone, and it doesn't actually set your spawn until you right click on it. And, well, it doesn't explode unless you're in the overworld. I genuinely didn't know it did that. So you could have a machine constantly check for a respawn anchor that has glowstone, and as soon as it has glowstone in it, add to a scoreboard that is a powered level and set it back to a respawn anchor. That way you can infinitely set glowstone. It's quite frankly genius. This is the same issue that stops us from just using stone as a base block for an ore. This is it right here. A respawn anchor is a solid block, and so when there's an item frame inside, well, you get the gist. But I've been thinking about those design rules I mentioned earlier in the video. Machines interact with the block beneath it. And this machine still needs a block interaction underneath it. The machine workbench is just a barrier. How it works when you place it down is it replaces every barrier around the player with a command block that places down the crafting table. There's an item frame on top of it, and if you place it, this happens. But the power source going dark when you place a block on top of it could just be an indicator that you're putting the wrong block on top of it. We could make this work! Yes! So if I reload and function, and it'll be glowstone reactor give. What's happening? What's happening? Okay, so it's been a couple days, and I got this working. I have the energy conduits all textured and modeled. You see those. They're looking quite snazzy, if you do say so myself. We got everything hooked up. And the energy system, so let's try it. Oh wait, it doesn't have energy, so let's give it some energy. So we give it some glowstone, and it doesn't do a lot. So you have to give it more than just one glowstone, and the more glowstone you give it, the more powerful it's going to be. Now, if we look at this side, we can see what's happening here. And there is a set of rules to how energy flows and moves. A reactor can use up to 5 pieces of glowstone at a time, and it will use as many as it can. So if there's more than 5, it will always use 5. But if there are only 4 in there, it'll only use 4. So when you activate the energy tank with the glowstone reactor, it gives the wire a charge. That charge goes down 1 for every block that it travels through. So if it's fully charged with 5 glowstone, then it'll have a charge of 20, so it will be able to go 1, 2, 3, all the way to 20. Now that length can be shortened, and how it can be shortened is by placing machines on the line. Every time a machine is powered by a conduit, it takes 1 piece of energy out of the line. So it uses up 1 charge. And it's so if we look at these lines individually, we can see that one travels farther than the other because this one doesn't have machines on it, drawing energy.
One of the biggest questions I've gotten when I was posting these videos was, why? Why make a data pack when I could just make it a mod and do everything I want much easier and with much more flexibility? Why make a data pack based on a mod that already exists? Why am I going through all these troubles to pick the right base blocks to put an item frame inside when I could just program my own blocks with the exact behaviors and functionalities that I want them to have? There are a few answers to that question. The first is quite simple. I can't code in Java, but I know Minecraft commands. I've been playing Minecraft since I was 10 years old. That's almost half of my life. I've been making data packs and function packs for Minecraft since 1.12 when functions were added. So in short, the answer to the first question of why is it a data pack? Well, because it's what I know how to do. But why make a mod that already exists? Well, to challenge myself to do something different, to make a more compact version of the mod. Let's face it, Sky Factory is pretty complicated. I can't really fully comprehend all the depths to that game. It is pretty big. It is a huge game. I could play that game for years and years and never explore all of the content that it has to offer. And while that is cool, and I definitely enjoy games that have that aspect, I feel like it's missing some of the core things that makes Minecraft special. In a way, Minecraft has always been beautiful in its simplicity. While you may not look at Minecraft now and think, oh, that's a pretty simple game, the systems that it has are definitely a lot more simple than in Sky Factory. Sky Factory is made for the player who wants to build a skill tree and diverge and go on a million different paths of mechanics. But I want to focus this data pack more on using those mechanics and having a few set rules that are very consistent and strict, and being able to work with those rules to create interesting machines. I'll demonstrate this more as time goes on, but I specifically created these machines to interact with redstone in a specific way. Just because some machines are going to be powered by magic and not redstone doesn't mean that this system is going to replace redstone. If you want to automate things, you will still need redstone in my data pack. But in Sky Factory, redstone is basically obsolete for other superior, more complicated energy systems. And while that's fine for a technical player who wants to learn all of those things, what about the average Minecraft player who wants a similar to Skyblock experience with some more fantasy and mechanical elements? This is by no means a critique of Sky Factory. I love Sky Factory and it ignited my passion for modded. Hell, if I didn't love Sky Factory, I wouldn't be making this data pack. I would be making a recreation of Tekkit or Feed the Beast or some other mod pack. Sky Factory is by far my favorite mod pack to ever come out of this community. And so rather than this trying to be a complete replacement, think of it as a tribute for the players who maybe can't fully wrap their heads around the entirety of Sky Factory. I quite frankly hit a block when I play Sky Factory because there are just so many paths to merge to and so many ways to progress in this game. So if you're looking for a more laid back, casual Sky Factory experience that tries to play it a little bit closer to vanilla, then this is for you. But if you like Sky Factory as it is, well, no one's gonna force you to play mine. All I can ask is if you find this series interesting, then give a like and subscribe. I want to bake more command tutorials into these videos later on, but for now I think this was a pretty good first episode. I would consider the early game for this data pack finished now. Maybe we can add some more reliable sources for iron before you get to the nether. But other than that, I think we're ready to start working on the mid-game, and the next long-form video like this can focus on the mid-game and things that are added in the nether. So, yeah. Okay, that was a good wrap-up. I liked that. Cool. Alright, like, subscribe, comment what you want to be added. I am taking so many requests. If you have a feature that you want to be added, I might add it, because some of them are really cool. Also, spoiler, I am bringing in some of my smaller data packs, like from my suggestions video, into this one. And I might also add vertical slabs. Who knows? I certainly don't. But let me know if you guys want vertical slabs to be added to this, because I will definitely add them if they want to be added. But yeah, okay. That's it. I'm out. Bye. Peace.